Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Yasin. Welcome along to this webinar for LinkedIn for Beginners. Just before I get started, can I just check everybody can hear me okay? If you wouldn't mind just entering into the chat just to make sure I'm coming across loud and clear. Great, fantastic. Okay, so I'll be delivering this webinar today, LinkedIn for Beginners. It should last probably around 20 minutes, and then we'll have some questions at the end as well. So feel free to use the chat to kind of post any questions that you have, and I'll pick those up at the end if that's okay. And then we'll kind of go through those at the end. So just wanted to check really how people are with LinkedIn. Would we say people in the webinar today, are you quite new to LinkedIn? Does anybody have a LinkedIn account? Okay, good. So some people are new to it. Some people have a profile, and Stu's got a lot of connections there, 300 connections as well. So that's fantastic. So hopefully, I mean, this is a LinkedIn for Beginners webinar. So hopefully if you're new to LinkedIn, this should kind of give you some ideas. We're going to look at how to kind of create your profile. I'll be sharing some hints and tips with you along the way. But even if you're not new to LinkedIn, you might kind of pick up a few things as well. We're really going to try and kind of make sure that your LinkedIn profile is optimized and that it stands out to kind of potential recruiters or LinkedIn contacts out there. Before we kind of get into LinkedIn though, let's just do a little bit of background on what LinkedIn actually is and what you're going to get at the end of this session. So hopefully by the end of this session you'll have a better understanding of what LinkedIn is and how you might be able to use it. It will also get you started on LinkedIn if you don't currently have an account. As I've said, if you already have a LinkedIn profile, hopefully it might give you some hints and tips to kind of improve the one that you've already got. I'm going to be doing a step-by-step guide with you as well. So after these slides, I'll connect to the LinkedIn platform and I'll show you my LinkedIn profile and I'll take you through a step-by-step process of how you can create your profile. You will be getting, just to say as well, you will be getting a copy of this webinar at the end as well. So you can always use it alongside, when you're on kind of on the internet, creating your profile, so you can kind of use this guide to help you create yours as well. Okay, so some background on LinkedIn. So some of you may know or you may not know, it's one of the biggest job searching platforms as well as one of the biggest job posting tools in the world. So LinkedIn currently has over 600 million users worldwide. Okay, so you may not know that LinkedIn is also a full publishing platform as well. So it's a platform where you can kind of write articles, share blogs, share your ideas, share your work with your connections and the wider LinkedIn community. And it's also an online educational platform as well, where you can develop your skills, whether those are business skills, technology skills, or creative skills. So LinkedIn purchased lynda.com in 2015 for $1.5 billion and developed it into something called LinkedIn Learning. And that's where kind of industry professionals teach courses online. So as students of UCLan, you all have free access to LinkedIn Learning. Now, for the purposes of this webinar, I'm not going to go into great detail about the publishing platform and LinkedIn Learning, but I will just show you as we're on the platform where you can access those features as well, so you can make the most of LinkedIn. So yeah, everything on LinkedIn really starts with creating a profile. So let's have a little look at my profile. And we'll go through how you can make yours stand out. So just bear with me for a second whilst I connect to LinkedIn. So hopefully you probably can't see the slides now, but you'll be able to you'll be able to see my screen in a second. Okay, so hopefully you can all see my LinkedIn profile here. So this is my LinkedIn profile. Is everybody able to see that? To see that? Okay, yeah, fantastic. That's great. So the first thing to do on LinkedIn is to actually upload your photo, and you can do that once you get onto LinkedIn. Obviously my profile is already completed. When you get onto your profile, it'll all be empty, but the kind of mechanisms of completing it are the same really. So you can go into your photo by clicking on that pencil icon there, and then there's a little pencil icon here. And that's how you kind of would upload your photo. Mine says here along the bottom, change photo, but yours will say add photo. Okay. Now, some tips to share with you about your actual photograph. Okay, so remember that LinkedIn is a professional platform, and that first impressions count. So you want to make sure that the photo that you use is professional. So what we're saying here really is, don't use any selfies. Try not to use photos from nights out. Try and use photos where you're kind of not having to crop people out. Not having to crop people out of your photo. Make sure it's just you in there, and just think about how people kind of might want to, how you might want to be viewed by people when they come across your profile. Now, LinkedIn actually say that profiles with a photo are 15 times more likely to be viewed than those without a photo. So I know some people don't like to put their photographs on LinkedIn, but actually, looking at those stats from LinkedIn themselves, it is a good idea to put one on there if you're looking to kind of connect with people. Okay. LinkedIn profiles with photos are also 8 times more likely to get connection requests as well, than those without a photo. So it definitely pays to have your photo on there, and then you can adjust it and you can kind of crop it and you can zoom in and out and do whatever you kind of want to it to make it bigger or smaller. Okay, so that's the first stage. Now, once you've done your photo, the next stage will be your headline. So on LinkedIn, this is called a headline here. Okay. Now, LinkedIn automatically pre-populates your headline. So what it does is it kind of takes your most recent job title and your employer, and it kind of creates that headline there for you. Now, I suggest changing this headline. Okay. You want to kind of make it more SEO friendly and make it so that people are easily able to find you on LinkedIn as well. So as an example, my headline, it's kind of taken, I've changed my headline, but what it did is it took my kind of current job title, which is Careers and Graduate Employability Officer, and it kind of added it there. And I've changed it to Career Specialist and Employer Engagement Professional, as you can see. So it's different to what LinkedIn kind of set it as. And the reason that I've done that is because I think this job title here, Careers and Graduate Employability Officer, is quite a niche title for UCLan. So if I'm ever hoping to be found by recruiters or by other LinkedIn contacts or just people generally on LinkedIn when they're searching with keywords, they're very unlikely to put in Careers and Graduate Employability Officer. I think I'm more easily likely to be found by keywords such as Career Specialist or Employer Engagement Professional. So that's what I've changed that to. You can change your headline by clicking on that pencil icon again, and then it's just there, the second box down. Now let's say, for example, you're a student and you're looking for a graduate opportunity in, I don't know, let's say HR, for example. I would suggest changing that headline to something along the lines of, so you might say, currently seeking job opportunities within HR, and then you might kind of keep it all in bold, in capitals, and you might kind of add a few stars next to it as well, just to kind of make it stand out a little bit, so that if people are looking for HR kind of professionals, or if people are searching for graduate HR keywords, you're likely to come up in their search criteria. Okay. If you were looking for a placement opportunity or an internship opportunity, you might kind of change that from job opportunity to say placement or internship opportunity. So when people land on your profile, they'll know exactly what your current situation is. Okay. So that's just a little tip for you there on your headline. Okay. You're just going to try and make it more SEO friendly. Okay. So let me just discard that because I don't want that to save on my profile. Now, once you've completed your headline, the next section there is the About section. I'm just going to skip this for a second and we'll come back to it. And I'll tell you in a few minutes why we're going to skip that. I suggest leaving that section and instead going across to your experience and your education section and filling that in next. Okay. Now, if you have a CV, you can take a lot of the information from your CV, so your job titles, your duties, your dates, and you can copy and paste a lot of that information across onto your experience section here. Now, I would suggest before you do that, if your CV hasn't been checked by somebody in careers, make an appointment with us or use a drop-in function and let us check over your CV before you copy and paste that information across into your LinkedIn profile, because we want to make sure it's all optimized and it's as it needs to be before it actually goes live and before you start trying to connect with people as well. Okay, just a tip to share with you here on your kind of duties and your work experience is make sure that the information here actually marries up with the information on your CV. So make sure your dates are accurate. You know, I have seen people's CVs and LinkedIn profiles with kind of, you know, where the dates aren't the same, where job titles aren't the same as well. And the chances are, if you're using a LinkedIn profile, even if you're not sharing that on your CV or your application form, an employer might well check your LinkedIn profile to make sure the information is the same as the information on your CV. If it isn't, then you know that might kind of leave the employer wondering, well, why are the dates different? And actually, how much attention to detail has this person actually put on their CV and their LinkedIn profile if the information isn't the same on both? So that's quite easy. To add your experience, you just need to kind of click on plus tab there, and then you can then add your job title. You can also add your employment type if you want to. I generally leave that blank. That's going to come up with kind of full-time, part-time, self-employed. And then you can also add the company in there as well. And if the company already has an account on LinkedIn, it will kind of attach itself to your profile, and then you can go ahead and put your job duties in this section here. Okay, so that's quite straightforward to complete. Similarly with your education as well, that's the next section down. You can just go ahead, click that plus icon there, and then just add your education. If you're still studying, you can just put your potential end date in there as well, and that just tells the employer or a recruiter or contacts on LinkedIn a little bit about your education, your work experience sections there. Okay, so that's that. The next section, which we kind of skipped out, was the about section here. So let me just expand that so you can have a little look through. And it will just show you my section here. Just gonna. Okay, I think somebody's having a connection issue with their internet. That's fine, Laura. If you're having connection issues, don't worry. You will get a copy of the webinar as well. Okay. So if we go back to this section here, which is the About section, now you get 2,000 characters to complete this section here. You don't need to use the maximum of 2,000 characters. But this section, if you've ever done a CV, is kind of like your professional summary or your professional profile section. Now, I suggest writing this in the first person because the first person is more personalized, so you can use I in there. It's different to a CV where you might write that in a little bit more of a third person style. But in this section here, you really want to get across your professional history, your qualifications, your personality, and anything else that you want to tell people about you. So here's mine. So I kind of talk about being an experienced advice and guidance and employer engagement professional. And I kind of talk a little bit about my passion and my motivation and what kind of drives me, so that when somebody lands on my profile and they're trying to read a little bit more about me and find out what kind of makes me tick and where I'm coming from, they can see what my motivators and what my passion is. And I kind of talk here as well about some of the kind of things that I've done. So I've talked about supporting people, empowering them to overcome their barriers. I've talked about working with a diverse client group. And as we go along, I've kind of highlighted some of my specialisms for people as well. So it's quite easy for them when they land on my profile to get a picture and a bit of a story about me and what drives me, what I'm about. So if an employer or a recruiter was looking at that, they might use that to just try and get a bit of a picture of what you're about, because they can only get so much information, obviously, from your education and your work experience. It's quite factual, isn't it? It kind of has dates and it has job titles and it has where you've studied and when you've studied. But this section is really where you can kind of tell a story about you. So think about kind of, what you want to get across to people when they read that profile. Again, we're available within careers. Once you've kind of come up with your profile, if you want us to have a little look at it for you and check it over as well, we're more than willing to do that for you as well. Okay, so yeah, as I say, 2,000 characters. You might not, you might find that you don't kind of need all 2,000 characters. You don't want it, obviously, it won't let you go any above 2,000 characters, but you don't want it to be too wordy and too long as well. Okay, because people just won't spend the time reading it. And literally to edit it, you just click on that pencil as I've done there, and a summary box comes up and you can type straight into that box. Okay. So the next section, if you've completed that, to fill out will be your skills section. And here's your skills section here. So let's look at this skills section. You can add specific skills onto your profile, and it's a great way to kind of showcase your abilities to others, and it's a good way to kind of engage with your network as well. So you can see here, these are a list of kind of my skills that I've kind of added onto that. To add a skill, you can literally just go on to add a new skill, and you can start typing in this box. So if you start typing, for example, if you're a marketing student, for example, it then brings down a drop down for you, and you can then select as many of those as you feel kind of apply to you and the skill set that you have. Now, at the beginning of the webinar, we kind of talked about how many people are on LinkedIn, and it's over 600 million users. Now, a tip for you here, employers actually have a paid access to this LinkedIn platform, which you don't see, but they can really use LinkedIn to narrow down their search from those 600 million users towards the type of people that they're interested in. And one of the ways they do that is by actually kind of narrowing down on the skills that they're looking for. So if I was, a marketing graduate, for example, if I was a marketing employer, I might be looking for marketing graduates, and I might be looking for somebody with kind of digital marketing skills, SEO skills, or PR skills. So they'll use those skills and they'll enter those into the LinkedIn platform, and then that will then bring up a list of profiles for people who have entered those skills into this section here. So it definitely pays to think about what your skill set is. It definitely pays to think about it from the employer or a recruiter's point of view or a LinkedIn contact's point of view in terms of what skills are going to be important to them and what skills they're going to be looking for, and then adding those skills into this skills section here. So just spend a little bit of time thinking about your skill set. The good thing is you can start typing into that box. And it will kind of come up with a list of skills already for you. So let's have a look there. Now, what actually LinkedIn say is that profiles that have skills in there, again, are 12 times more likely to be viewed on average compared to those profiles without skills as well. So it definitely pays to include your skills in there. Okay. Now, once you've completed that skills section, a good tip now for you is to check that your profile is completed. There really aren't many sections for you to complete on here, but a completed profile on LinkedIn is called an all-star profile. So if you head up to your dashboard here and have a look along the right hand side here, if you've filled in all the sections that you need to fill in, your profile should say all-star, and it'll have a star next to it. Okay, so it doesn't tell you like how well you've completed your LinkedIn profile, but it does tell you that you've completed all the sections that you're required to complete. If your profile doesn't say all-star, then you'll want to carry on continuing filling it in until you do get to that all-star status. Okay. And now that you've completed your profile on LinkedIn, what I suggest you do is update your URL profile. So each person on LinkedIn has their own unique URL. And you can access your URL by clicking on this pencil icon again. And if we scroll down to the bottom here where it says contact info, and click on that pencil, here you go. Here you can see my URL. So I've updated and edited my URL. Usually the URL is kind of, it's a very long sequence of kind of letters or numbers. It'll fill that whole line. It won't have your name in it, and it doesn't make it easy to share that URL on your CV if you're not hyperlinking it, for example, or just generally sharing it with people in emails or other kind of documents. So I would suggest changing this last section here from random numbers and letters, which is what it will give you, into your name. Now, if you've got quite a common name, like myself, which is Yasin Patel, then you're going to find that it might already be taken. So then you might just have to little kind of play around with it a little bit, and I've added a little dash and a 1 on there because somebody's beaten me to Yasin Patel on there. But then that's my URL that stays with me, and I can then share that with people, and it's much easier. It looks a little bit more professional as well. Okay, so update your URL. Once all that is done, you're now ready to start connecting with people on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn gives you a maximum of 30,000 connections. So that's the maximum number of people you can connect to. And yeah, if you ever get to 30,000, then, then well done, really. I do know people who have kind of got to that level and aren't able to connect with any more people. You tend to find that those people are more kind of people who are using LinkedIn more as a sales tool and using it more to kind of drive business and sales. What I would say to you about your connections is, focus on quality over quantity. So it is definitely good to have lots of connections, but make sure, they're valuable connections. LinkedIn, it's a professional network, so it's not a place for you to be connecting with your friends. It's not Facebook. But unless you find that your friends are going to be useful connections for you, if they're working in the same industry or if they have connections that you want to connect with, but really focus over quality rather than quantity. And you can search for connections by clicking on this search box here. So if I was looking for marketing recruiters, again, I'm just using the example of marketing. This could be anything. It might be whatever your kind of whatever types of roles you're interested in. So marketing recruiters, and then click on people here. So then that will bring up a list of people for you. You can refine your search as well. So for example, location, you can put in United Kingdom. You can narrow that down to region as well. So you can actually focus that down. So I've put in marketing recruiters, and then here we go. This has brought up a list of people. So the first one there is somebody called Alex Lown, and it says there we are hiring, and the company that they work for. So it's just a case of going through these. There's one here, an early talent manager at GlaxoSmithKline. So it kind of brings up useful connections for you that you might want to connect with. And there you go. There's hundreds of pages there of connections. Go through those, have a look, and see which ones might be useful for you to connect with. Let's say we thought Alex might be a useful connection for us. We'd click on that profile, and what I suggest then is clicking on this More tab here and following Alex. And what that will allow you to do is every time Alex posts on LinkedIn, whether it's a vacancy or whether they're just commenting on somebody else's post, or whether they're liking somebody else's post, or general comments, whatever they do, you'll be alerted to it. And that might be an opportunity for you then to comment on their post, and that's a way of engaging. When we talk about kind of engagement and quality over quantity, that's what you could do. You could start engaging with these people rather than just connecting and then kind of not doing anything with them again. So if you click that, that will alert you to their activity on LinkedIn, and then you can also send them a connection request. So to connect with people on LinkedIn, you have to press connect. You then have the opportunity to kind of type into this if you want to personalize your message. So you might say something along the lines of, "Hi Alex, came across your profile. I'm a marketing graduate or a second-year student or a first-year student. I'm looking for experience or just general knowledge, or it'd be great to kind of connect with you." You can really personalize your message into that type there. Or if you feel as if you don't want to personalize your message and you just want to send a connection request, a generic connection request, you can just click send invitation. That will then go across to Alex. They will then view your profile. So they'll look at what you've written about yourself, they'll look at your headline, they'll look at your skills, and they'll think, well, yeah, is this person a good connection for me? Are they a useful connection? Am I able to help them? And then they will then obviously either connect with you or not. And that's the premise of LinkedIn. That's how it kind of all works, really. It's all about kind of professionally connecting with people. So you can obviously go ahead and connect with as many people as you like, and they come up here where it says My Network. Connection requests land in there. My internet's playing a little bit slow, but there you go. These are people that have kind of sent me connection requests, which I haven't got around to kind of connecting with or looking at their accounts yet. That tells you how many kind of connections that I've got as well, and there's a few people that I follow as well. Okay, so that's kind of LinkedIn in a nutshell. At the beginning, we talked about LinkedIn Learning as well and how you can access LinkedIn Learning. Let me just quickly show you LinkedIn Learning. Just check this. Okay, just reading that comment there as well. Okay, so you can actually access LinkedIn Learning by clicking on this tab here on the right hand side. Learning. Now this is probably going to take me directly into my LinkedIn Learning account. When you click on that, if it's the first time that you're accessing LinkedIn Learning, it will ask you for your organisation. Your organisation is UCLan, so put in the University of Central Lancashire, and it will then ask you to log in. So it will ask you for your student login details. Log in with those, and then this is the page that you'll land on here. Okay, so you can browse by courses, or you can just type in there, and these are a list of subjects. And I mean, these are just some. Obviously, if you click on see all, it will bring up all of them for you, and you can then kind of professionally develop yourself through courses on here. They're bite-sized courses. Some are kind of maybe 20 minutes long, some are 15 minutes long, some are an hour long, some are a little bit longer. It's all e-learning, it's all online, it's all delivered by industry professionals. And the good thing with LinkedIn Learning is when you've completed one of these courses, let's say if you completed business analysis and strategy, for example, that would then reflect on your LinkedIn profile under your skills section. So it automatically adds it on there to show that you've completed that course. So again, you know, potential recruiters will look at your LinkedIn profile and they can really see that you've gone above and beyond, not just, you know, kind of studying on your degree, but that you're professionally trying to develop yourself and that you've completed a range of courses on LinkedIn as well. When people are connecting with you, you know, they might look at that as well and see that you've completed a lot of courses, and they might think, yeah, well, actually I want to connect with this individual. They're obviously taking their LinkedIn profile seriously, and they're obviously taking their career seriously as well, and they're actually trying to develop themselves. So, you know, really go on to this and have a look at some courses that you're going to find useful. And generally, you know, if you just want to learn things as well, you know, there's lots of courses on software as well, software which you might be using in the workplace. So it's good to kind of get a handle on that and brush up on your skills. And then if we just head back across to the LinkedIn profile again, I'll just quickly show you through the publishing platform, and then we can address any questions that you have. So you can actually start a post on LinkedIn. So just click on start a post here, and on here you can kind of just literally share your ideas, your thoughts. You might want to put a shout out to employers to say, hey, look, I'm looking for a placement, I'm looking for an internship, I'm looking for a job. This is a little bit about me. Can you help me? Or do you know anybody useful that I might be able to connect with? And you can literally just type in whatever you want to type in there, and it's as simple as just posting. You can then share that with anybody on LinkedIn, or you can just share it with your connections, depending on, you know, how far and wide you want that to go. You can also share articles. So an article is a little bit different to a blog in that it gives you more characters. You are limited by how many characters you can use in a blog, but in an article you can make it lengthier. You might want to showcase your work or projects or things that you've done. And literally, it couldn't be any simpler than entering your headline into there and then going straight in and just typing into the main body there. You can also add photos and things here by clicking on this icon here to make it a little bit more attractive. And you know, if you want to kind of jazz it up a little bit with photos, make it more appealing and stand out, you can do that as well. Okay, so that's us on LinkedIn. I'm going to try and head back now to the presentation slides, if you give me a moment. Okay, hopefully, can everybody see the slides again? fantastic. So this is just I'll just finish on this final slide and then we'll come across to your questions. So this is just a little bit about, if you haven't engaged with UCLan careers already, what you can access in terms of support. At the moment, obviously, it's all working a little bit differently. We're conducting all of our appointments through Teams, but you can still book in appointments, mini appointments, which last about 20 minutes, or 45-minute appointments with careers advisors through Teams, through Career Edge. And then when things get back to normal, who knows when that will be, you can come and access support. We're based in Foster Building in the Career Centre as well. Okay, so hopefully you found that useful. I'm just going to have a little look at the chat now and just try and go through some of the questions that we have on here. Okay, so we have a question. Let's see. So a question here: do you think it would be useful profile for final year student nurses? Would employers look for nursing staff on here or only on NHS career site? Yeah, that's a good question. It's a really good question. So some industries actually probably, I would say, use LinkedIn more to find candidates, to find suitable people compared to others. I think nursing is a profession which, you're, as a nurse, you're always in demand. So generally, if you're kind of on a nursing degree, the chances are statistically you're more likely to get into a nursing role than you are from somebody that might have done another degree. But definitely, I have come across people who create nursing profiles on LinkedIn as well. And some nurses then move into kind of teaching, or they move into other roles where they're not kind of front line. So it's useful for them to have a profile on LinkedIn as well, just to show their history and their chronology and what they've done and how they've developed. So it certainly doesn't do any harm to create a profile on LinkedIn. And even if it's not viewed by nursing recruiters, it might still be viewed by nursing professionals. So it's still useful to connect with your peer group. And maybe you might want to kind of share ideas or share thoughts, or you might want to just kind of keep up to date with what they're doing and the information that they're sharing as well. So it definitely helps to have a LinkedIn account, whether you're a nurse or from any other profession. Okay. So do you think, let's have a look, do you think it's worth paying for the upgrade on LinkedIn? It's a question there from Stu. So that's a really good question, Stu. I would say to you, and I've kind of been onto LinkedIn training where they've gone through the actual paid features of LinkedIn, whereby you can kind of connect with more people. Well, you can't connect with more people, sorry. You can kind of send more personalized messages and connect with people beyond your network. I would say before you start to think about paying for the paid features on LinkedIn, really maximize the basic features on LinkedIn. So have a think about, are you actually using the free functions on LinkedIn to the extent that you can be doing it? So what I mean by that is, are you connecting with the connections that you already have? Are you writing blogs? Are you writing articles? Are you commenting on their posts? And if you're doing all of that, then it might be kind of worthwhile paying for the paid option. I generally find actually that there's enough in the basic option to kind of keep you going and to use it to connect with people before you move on to the paid option. I don't have a paid account on LinkedIn. Other people that I've spoken to who do pay for the extra features on LinkedIn actually find that they don't get a lot more compared to the basic features. People who tend to use LinkedIn more as a sales tool to drive business, I think it's more useful for them to use the paid features. Okay, question here from Gladys. I already have an account and I have filled all the sections, but looking at my dashboard, as you said, it does not show the All Star as you mentioned. So Gladys, there may well be sections on there that you've not completed. So I would suggest just going through and just making sure that all the sections are completed. If it doesn't still say All Star, you might just want to get your LinkedIn profile checked over through careers as well. So you can always book in a mini appointment so that we can go through your profile. If it's not obvious to you which bits you haven't completed, book in and we can have a look at your profile. Okay. Gladys says, my main challenge is finding an opportunity via LinkedIn. So there are lots of opportunities via LinkedIn, Gladys. So you can actually go onto the jobs search function on LinkedIn. So when we typed in marketing recruiter, if you, rather than search for people, if you search for jobs, You'll find jobs in there. Again, it depends on the type of role that you're looking for. But from what you're saying, I think it might benefit you to book in for a mini appointment with careers, and we can kind of on a one-to-one basis go through your LinkedIn account and also how you can find jobs. And if they aren't on LinkedIn, we might be able to suggest other places where you can search for opportunities as well. Okay. So a question from Stu: does the platform work internationally? I.e., if I'm looking for counterterrorism jobs in the US, will my profile work internationally on its keywords or just the UK? Yeah, great question, Stu. Absolutely. So once you enter your profile onto LinkedIn, you will be accessible to the 600 million plus users on LinkedIn. So yeah, you can connect with people internationally. People internationally can connect with you, and they can find you as well, again by your keyword, um, if they put in a keyword search criteria. So the good news about LinkedIn is you can definitely connect with people internationally as well. Okay. I've got a question here. I have a LinkedIn profile earlier and work experience in teaching industry, and I've not used it much, but now I'm doing my masters and looking for a job in software. Is it good to use the same profile or create a new one? So I would say, actually, just before I do that, I'm just going to put in a little poll here as well, if you wouldn't mind just selecting that as well, just to say how useful you found the webinar today. Yes, just to answer that question, I would suggest updating your profile. So you'll always have one profile. You don't want to create more than one profile on LinkedIn, but you want to make sure that it's updated and it reflects, what you've done previously, but also what you're doing now as well. So use the same profile, I would say, but actually make sure it's updated. Okay. Make sure all the information on there is relevant and it's up to date. Okay, that was the last question on the chat. Do we have any other questions at all? Okay, Stu. Yeah, absolutely no problem at all. Book an appointment and get yourself onto Career Edge. Book a slot in, and we'll definitely talk about it a little bit more in detail. So you'll be able to access the appointments on Career Edge. So if you go onto Career Edge, you'll be able to access the appointments on there. We'll try and share the links with you if you don't already have those on how you can book an appointment. If anybody is struggling and they want a little bit more information, you can email uclan@careers as well, or if our phone lines are still operational as well, so you can just call 01772895858 as well. Somebody from Careers will be on the other end of the phone as well. So we're hoping to send the recorded webinars out soon. There's just a little bit that I need to do in terms of the back end of this webinar platform, which I will do, and then we'll try and get those sent out to you as quickly as we can. I can't imagine it. It's not myself sending it out; it's somebody else. But I can't imagine it being any more than a few days before you actually receive it. So we don't, Stu, we don't have an advanced webinar for LinkedIn, but actually we are going to be running a series of webinars on all different types of topics. So if you haven't already accessed, or if you haven't already seen the list of those webinars, make sure you go onto Career Edge and have a look at what else is available and book onto those other webinars. We're looking for topics on what you guys would like to see webinars on. So definitely LinkedIn advanced features is something we can look at. I don't know if anybody else has any other topics that they might want to share that you might kind of be interested in. Sinetta, yes. So as I said previously, we're hoping to share the webinars with you as well. So if you came in halfway through, or if you missed a little bit, don't worry. You will get a recording of the webinar in its entirety, so you'll be able to catch up on that. I don't know exactly when it's going to be sent out, but hopefully it won't be too long. I imagine it shouldn't be more than a couple of days before you receive it, or it might even be sooner than that. Okay. Should this be written academically? Sorry, Stu. I think yeah, it might be that we might need to address that in a one-to-one. Okay, fantastic. Well, great. Thank you all for coming along today. Hopefully you've found that useful. Yeah, brilliant, great. I'm glad you got something out of it, which is fantastic. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. So if there's no other questions, we'll leave it there. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for attending.